when I began to think about those reflections and thinking on the theme of waiting, the first picture that came into my mind was the waiting room. And so perhaps this time of Advent is our waiting room. And I began to think of all the waiting rooms that we might have waited in. I thought there's the operating room where we are unconscious waiting for an operation. Then there's the recovery room where we're waiting to recover. And then there's the waiting rooms in the doctor's surgery, in the dentist's, the waiting room at the station, at the airport. And of course there's the news order waiting room, which many of us have become very familiar with over these last few months. And that's the Zoom waiting room, where we're waiting for the host to let us in. And sometimes I'm waiting in my room, waiting for the computer to let me go live, whilst it does whatever it is that computers do. So there are many sorts of waiting rooms. And that thought of waiting for the host to let us into Zoom, or the other one that comes up is we're waiting for the host to begin the meeting. Are we waiting for the Lord to let us in? No. The Lord is waiting for us to come in, straight in to his presence. So there's the waiting room, and then I'm also thinking about, what are we waiting for? I guess now we're waiting for lockdown to end. At least I am when I'm recording this. By the time you see this, the national lockdown hopefully will have ended, but we'll be in different sorts of tier restrictions, waiting. So we're waiting for the pandemic, waiting for the virus to go, waiting for the computer to start up, waiting for files to download, waiting for letters or emails from friends, from family, waiting for a phone call. What will that phone call be? Will it bring peace? Will it bring sadness? Will it bring joy? We wait in expectation. We also wait for the toast to pop up, for the kettle to boil. We wait for the engineer to come at the promised time. Children in a few weeks' time will be waiting to open the presents that are under the tree. Waiting the results of test and trace. Some come quickly, some have to wait days or even weeks. And on the news the other day, seeing that the container ships are waiting for weeks to unload their cargo. And we are all waiting for Christmas. Why? For the presents? No, we're waiting to celebrate the coming of God coming to us as one of us. And then you have to think about, where do we wait? In the hospital, in a hospice, on a bus, on a plane, in the doctor's, waiting in the theatre for the curtain to go up, waiting in arrival lounges for someone to arrive, waiting outside the headmaster's study, waiting in the queue at the checkout, waiting for those birthday cards. So many places we wait. Think of the elderly people in care homes who are waiting alone, except for the care staff, waiting to see their family. In a book from the Wild Goose publications called Doing Christmas Differently, there's a story of a man called Lumumba, a young man called Lumumba, who was forced to flee his country when his family were raped and murdered. and with a shattered heart he came here to Britain for help. And this is what happened. His case was refused, his appeal was discarded. Then followed a pleading to the judge for reasons of humanity. But the judge was having a bad day. The pennies he was paid every month for survival were snatched away by governmental hands. So left with no choice, he worked illegally in a factory doing something that no one else wanted to do. Then one day, a swarm of investigators arrived, policemen, immigration officials, and suits from work and pensions. When they came to Lumumba, he begged them with tears, but they handcuffed him, told him he had failed and now must be deported. The screaming started again. They detained him inside this dark and lonely cubicle. Now he sits, head in hands, eyes closed, cheeks wet, hearing songs of seasonal spirit taunting him from behind a locked steel door. The guards go home to their turkey dinner, and Lumumba sits alone, waiting. I was thinking of someone I've been chatting to, an elderly lady, alone in her flat. The family keep in touch, but she can't get out. And when I spoke to her, she says, "I'm just drawing the blinds. It's going to be a long evening." She waited all day for the TV repairman to come. She said it's like a prison, waiting for daylight. And her family are not near, so at Christmas she'll still be waiting alone. But we wait too in excited anticipation. Anticipation of results, anticipation of holidays, of birthdays. Some people are waiting in despair, with no end in sight, while others wait for new life. And in that waiting time, when one is pregnant, it's all time to get ready for the new baby. And who's waiting for you? The bus driver waits while you run to catch the bus. The taxi you ordered waits outside while you put your shoes on and finally get your coat together. Someone is waiting for you to arrive and bring them just cheer and a cheery voice and some lovely conversation. So many aspects of waiting. Usually, this time of waiting in Advent is all about buying into the now culture. Cards, presents, family parties, carol concerts, getting ready for this big event called Christmas. So it's a time of waiting in order to get everything ready. But this year, everyone is experiencing waiting in a new way. Living in this now society, this credit-driven society, this thing called coronavirus is asking us to reevaluate what it means to wait and how we can work with that. We are all being led into waiting and learning what that means. We're all being led into the waiting room so we can feel and experience what it means to be in the waiting room. So now I invite you to take a moment to pause and reflect what the word wait means to you. And where has the waiting been in your life? And as you do that, you may like to listen to the Teze chant, Wait for the Lord.